Let's do it.
Well, hey, welcome to the Dream Labs. Dr. Contrast live here with a very distinguished guest in the studio again. And believe me, I'm really pleased to have him on board. It's the one and only Shadowkin. We're going to talk about some G12 stuff here today.
Who?
So I hope, yeah, that's Shadowkin, the one and only. So it's been a really interesting week since we put this one on last week. We've come through the whole process of doing some exploratory work. We talked about it last week. And I think today's stream is going to be really vital for getting down to the nitty-gritty of saying, all right, we've got some interior work and some exterior work we're going to analyze here. So we're going to go through, maybe not so much drawing today, but just getting some feedback on yays and nays about where we are with this whole process. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see what the outcome is. So if Shadow, if you want to join us in here and really kind of take a look at spitting on some of this stuff, great. Just looking at this first sketch, by the way, now let's go back. I want to bring it back to some of the history on it, because we were really looking at, hey, Nemo, how are you? Good to have you on board, Chief. How you doing? We'll wait for your response here. Good.
Yeah, it's good. He beat us to the stream.
Yeah, you were there before we were.
I know.
Outstanding. Well, again, when you're before you respond here, when you get a chance to respond, we want you to know how much we really appreciate your input on this thing. It's been really helpful to see you go through the process with us and put some good hardware down and say yays and nays about some things. And we're relying on that today too as we go through this whole system. So. I'm fine, thanks. Just a bit latency here. That's okay.
We'll keep you awake.
That's right. We'll keep it rolling here. So again, let's go back to this was a series of studies we did. We went to the cockpit studies here. And we thought, it'd be kind of nice to get into some HUD displays and maybe open up the cockpit and spatially around the. This is the actual form of the glass and so forth. But when we looked at this thing, there was a lot of lift in this, which kind of bulky, and then this bridge system was kind of interesting. So we went from that bridge system shadow into this. So let's just get these out of the way as we kind of go through them. Then there was an overhead view about what that might look like in terms of adding the bridge, the HUD, and again, that control spar in there, so to speak, and letting that begin to kind of run with us. Then again, in these command systems that were more visual and et cetera to support the HUD. Then the steering control, instead of being paddle really, like we started out some time ago with that steering wheel system, you brought something up last time around. It was interesting that these guys are okay, but you got to bring them rearward and get them closer to the driver. Correct?
Yeah, and that's when we started also noticing that these were probably too far forward to reach forward and grab,
right?
Because this glass line's really low to begin with.
Yes, it is.
So, but the yoke gave us some idea of how the kind of the canopy is going to wrap around him. So yeah,
very good. Yeah, I think that's a good balance. But I think the idea too of being involved in this thing, the rig systems. But I think one of the nice things about this thing too is to have this very, very big, deep helicopter aircraft type cockpit or center console away from typical steering, and then getting rid of this guy. So that was another phase we went through. And then we did a little bit more detailed work on some of the control systems. This was a little bit more simplified, but it still had that same HUD system in it. And I think the more I look at that might have been a distraction. This is a glass panel, but if you're back here in a seating system or a situation, it could be a little bit of interference to go through it. Then
especially if you swayed a little bit, you'd start to see that
around that. Yeah. So maybe that idea was to flatten that out or eliminate it, but somehow keep the bridge. I think there's something about that bridge that gives you something to suspend on, but we'll see as we go down the line.
You never know.
You never really know. It's one of those mysteries as we go through this thing. Now, hand controls, we went full forward and full rearward, but I still go back to what you were saying earlier about bringing these guys back, so you've got more of something and then bringing this thing closer.
Yeah, where it's like, right, so we were saying with like sits like that, and you're just articulating with your arm, your hand, your wrist.
Exactly, that was it. So now that's where hi Caleb, how are you? Good to have you on board. Glad you could make it.
Yeah, welcome.
So we're doing some G12 analysis here, and hopefully by the end of the day, before we went on the air, Shadow and I are really looking forward to getting this thing nailed down. So next Wednesday, I can start doing some really neat illustration work and getting this thing finalized for print and model making. Yeah, you heard me right, us, model making.
That's right, a physical 3D model you can buy.
We're coming. It's going to be really cool, like a 10th scale speed form. Just imagine something in a screaming metallic charcoal with yellow accents. Ooh. Outstanding. We'll make Ferrari envious.
Maybe Ferrari.
Well, maybe Ferrari will buy them.
Maybe they'll buy one.
Hey, we shut the thing down. We'll see you guys later. So here we are. So that was another generation of looking at this open cockpit series and some studies on the hand controls. Then we switched gears and we went to this. We went back to the exterior. Now, something about this, a little bit of the forward lean was interesting. Some of the profile work was good, but this got a little clumsy and then a little bit too narrow. And then, Nemo, you brought that up as well. Hey, Ballistic, how are you?
Hey, Ballistic.
A little bit too narrow in this area here. So this had to be really identified further. You'll see down the line here a little bit of a facelift sketch. A little bit busy in here. Still like the low cockpit. The intake system looked good. That forward lean looked pretty interesting based on what we talked about last time around. So that was then. This is now. Check this out.
I still haven't seen these yet, guys.
All of a sudden, I don't know how you guys feel about it. Look at what we've done here with your input and with Shadow's assistance here. Yeah, that was the first pass at it, trying to be a little bit more brutal in the downforce effect, but we don't need this. We need to bring this nose open and widen it out a little bit, Nemo. Thank you very much. And we open that up a little bit and then drop the canard just a little lower and get rid of these struts and then run this down off of a lower profile and then run that dihedral across the nose. Get rid of some of the bulk. This was unnecessary, a little bit too cosmetic, but I think the lean ahead of this thing was really interesting. So that's where we were. What do you think, Shadow?
I love it.
There it is. Those are some of the modifications we looked at.
Looks like something I've never seen before, which is pretty amazing.
That's again.
No, yeah, bringing this down is definitely very good. It gives us a lot more scoop here.
Yep.
Most of our downforce on this car, believe it or not, is not going to be on the front.
No.
It's actually going to be right dead center, pulling it, sucking it down to the ground.
In between the cockpit area, in the pod.
Yeah, so we can lose a lot of that front. Yeah, no, that's good.
But I think just lean a little bit and then just taking the intake. It's a good question today, too, for the gang when you're out there. I'd say, yeah, that wide nose also has something of a Snoop Dogg. Hey, Nemo, would that Snoop Dogg be Captain Nemo? Well, I told you we'd come back and honor your request about getting more of that shark nose in play there, but I think it really helped to drop the nose, and I think this clean canard really did a lot for us.
Yeah.
And again, there's a little sliver underneath, what you won't see, you'll see in the model. There's a sliver underneath here that lets air go through it and travel back.
Yeah, and that's one thing we were talking about with the model, guys, is you don't realize how much is not here. I mean, there's so much airspace underneath here, and so much airflow work that we're doing, and just like he's saying right through here is without shadowing that correctly, and even then it's still a little hard to really get a hit on it.
This is still all glass, Nemo. This is still all glass. But again, to bring that nose into play, and then obviously in the side view, look at that. What we talked about last Wednesday, was this whole nacelle drops in and comes right back around the driver.
Yep.
That line right there tells me that's where the seating system's going to be.
Yep. Yeah, and putting the driver in there from the side view when we are done is going to be really exciting.
Yeah.
It's literally going to be a car he's wearing.
Yeah, well, that's the goal. I think that's the idea. And away from the G12 series, I didn't bring that old G12 out that we were looking at beforehand.
No, we're not even in the same
Not even in the same league now.
We're not even in the same universe.
And what we can't see in this view, too, Shadow, is this. And maybe if not today, we'll get to it throughout the course of the week. What we don't see is a tumble home on this thing. This view looks like it's pretty stiff in terms of the body side, but this whole thing is much more elliptical or more ovoidal, so it's rounder as it goes underneath. So there's a lot of escaping through here, and that might modify it too. That could be nice, almost like a polar triangle as well. So it's much more that kind of a form. So we got the room to do that. But no, that's the latest facelift.
Well, that's good with a wider nose too, is to taper it off like basically like an ice cream cone on its side. And that's one of the most aerodynamic designs.
Yeah, just for what I'm going to make a mess here again. But what we're talking about is this, and that whole plan view. The section could be this. If I call this center line, for example, here, let's run that as center line. What it reads like in the sketch, when you look at the sketch, it looks like the sidewall is pretty vertical, but we're not. What we're saying is potentially we can end up doing this. It could almost be parabolic. Which does that, right?
Nice.
Which now comes in, we pick up that front canard, and that's the wing foil there, into wheel form, slice that back. Oh, check this out. Down the ground, there's Nemo right here. There's that cross member. Modify it.
The Nemo nose.
The Nemo nose. Nemo knows a lot. There we go. So that breaks. That breaks and then tumbles home. But again, look at the drama in this thing. And underneath there's that catch. There's the dihedral coming out of this, wrapping around the wheel. So there's a little bit of airspace here, dihedral, and there it is. Look at the section on that thing. And then behind it all, as it moves rearward, and that thing comes in and goes uphill, look at this.
Yeah, you get that air intake.
Big hairy intake in there, man. Look at that. What do you think, gang? Makes sense?
Oh, yeah.
See who we got here. Streamlabs, Pixel. Hey, Pixel, how you doing? Hey, look at Nemo.
He loves it now.
He loves it. All right. It's all because of the nose. But again, that's the idea. And again, let me make a mess here, guys. A survival cell, instead of being round, I think is much more dramatic to come back in and really truncate this thing. Break it. There's the glass strut. and then as it leaves that body form, rolls underneath.
Yeah.
And comes into that wider nose surface, into the canards, and then into the wheels. I mean, that could be a really interesting section.
Oh, yeah.
For two reasons. Number one, and this is, we're going to get to this a little bit later on, but the reason we're doing that is because there's an awful lot of airspace in here. This is all air. So the tighter we move that over and get it wider with that, the more we modify that section in there, for example, to drop in. Here's the cool part. You guys, I'm sure you follow IMSA racing, right? IMSA racers?
Oh, yeah.
All right. It's exactly. I like it. Really a gobby shark. A gobby shark now. Well said. But here's the trick. What would be really cool, let's go back to this sketch for a second. Most of the entry egress systems are going to be like this. You know, how do you get into this thing? Well, we could pivot it, we could canopy it, or else I think the idea is to pivot like a la aircraft. But here's the trick. There's enough sill here, and then by building this section over a little deeper or closer to the wheels, pull an IMSA. There's a big shelf in there. You hit on thing, you roll in, and it's
just like the LMPs.
Yeah, instead of having the door cut out here,
especially the ones.
Oh yeah, like the Toyota and the.
Well, no, it's funny because they always had this big do not step here, and the big do not step, which is just like an aircraft. But then they had the one platform that you were supposed to step on.
That would be cool. So the entry egress, let's put this in there. That entry, so you hit here. Then you roll in when the canopy's up, and you're coming in nicely. There's the canopy in the up position. You roll right up, and you're in.
Yeah,
that could really be cool. So okay, so let's hold that for a second. There's the final go around, and I think we've got something really melodic here to work with. It just proportion looks so much better.
Oh yeah.
Now the question is, do we want to bring this a little bit further rearward or forward rather, and dramatize it more? Because if we pull it rearward, we're going to duck that thing back into the engine. It might be a little tough.
Yeah, that's true. Because we did have it in earlier models. It was kind of more like hunched up here.
Yep.
And then it kind of wrapped the air down directly in.
That's correct. This whole thing could shift. All this form stays, but this thing we could. That's not bad. We could tie it off that cut line.
Yeah, and then use the air that comes down off of it as like a nice spoiler there.
Yep. Actually, pardon me here.
Kind of smooth that out.
So that whole form. I'm not going to draw on this, but we can come up with this line and roll it back. That could be pretty dramatic.
Oh yeah.
Well, let me see. What does that look like when we do this? Pardon me. I'm just going to scratch around today, guys. This is a
scratch session.
This is a scratch session, man. Start itching. So there we are. If I go back to this, what happens if we do this? We roll into this guy. We drop that form in, come back to that butterfly, and get back 1, 2, 3, 4 back. Now, if we come back off of that cut line, which is right there, oh yeah, you know what? I'll tell you what, Shadow, that's dramatic. Check this out. Ooh. Hasn't hurt us a bit. Look at that.
Yeah, that's. I remember that. Well, that was a long time ago. You probably have what 1,000 sketches of this thing.
Last time I counted about 4,300. We're good. No, we're good. But again, that's a little bit tall. But look what that does.
Yeah. It's almost like Bugatti, like a la Bugatti.
That's right.
Because they have this big, massive intakes.
Mm-hmm. We were back here initially. We were back here in those, but by bringing that forward and then really getting the drop in this thing, how cool is that? There's that little return. There's our nacelle here, and this is all airspace.
Yep.
Oh wow! What do you think, gang?
Yeah. Love it.
Yep, exactly the right angle to catch some wind. Yeah, cool. Yep. Yeah, definitely. Now, in the other view, too, in the plan view.
Well, another thing is because we got this channel.
Yeah, let's bring it in.
We have this channel between here. Yes. We could get that down right in there even.
Yeah, you could. You could actually connect it off of the upper.
Right. Yeah. Because we literally want to scoop that air out of there.
Yeah. So that whole point. I'm going to draw on top of it, but again, if that upper comes in through here, now we're saying this. It's all part of that whole upper.
Yeah, and have it come up some because under heavy turns left and right, you're gonna basically like a really terribly tumbling air through there.
That's good point.
So you're not going to get good inject. So you want to keep some of it above.
That'll do it.
So that kind of works out. It's just, I'm just thinking scoop that air out of there. It's kind of useless.
Yeah, I know. And I think going back to this sketch here, too, without even thinking about it, rationally speaking, but a little bit of a bump. And again, this little disturbance here, that lean should be the other way. It's just accentuate that whole forward thrust.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think there, gang. Ballistic Cowboy. I love how much this has changed. Yeah, me too.
Evolution.
Revolution. Very cool. So that's
very revolutionary.
Let's hold that guy. But let's go back to the history of this thing. This is some of the, after we did that first sketch, we did a couple of these elevations. And I think we were playing off of this guy right here. But even this, look how that's much closer.
Right, yeah, that's what I was saying. I knew we had it up further.
Well, that's because you're a dumb designer here. Didn't pay attention to where that thing was located.
You probably just did 50 sketches in between them, and it just got further back each time.
There it was. Oh my God, what have you done? I forgot. I've got Alzheimer's. I forget. But that whole, I think that's great. Even this, that's the original. The facelift is not as stiff here. It's a little more of this. But if you bring that through and then lift it, that's the ticket. That is cool.
Absolutely.
What do you think, gang? You still buying that one?
Still buying it.
Let's see. Caleb, repetition is definitely produced. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So here we go. Now, here's the sum total. All of that to say this. Now we moved into what I refer to as the revised interior study. Here's phase 1. Now, what do you think, gang? There's phase 1.
You're definitely getting it here. I see that. This is a little harder to see, but so here's the hand controls.
There's the hand controls there.
Okay.
There's the touch screen.
What's that right through there?
That could be either.
Are those buttons?
That could be
or something.
No, they're actually buttons for example, active arrow.
Oh, okay.
And close by, there could be part of the controls as well.
Okay.
Things like this, or monitoring systems for engine or suspension dynamics.
Right.
Little video system for front end dihedral.
Right.
So it's all, and then this becomes that wraparound screen. This is all glass.
That lets you see through. Yeah.
This is all glass from here to here. That's a support structure, and this little piece up on top, this is an overhead mirror system that has the same.
Yeah, the halo cockpit.
Effect,
And then we also have the band up here.
There it is. That's the cross member.
We had the what is it? The indicator band.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, it's a really like an expanded HUD display. But you notice the view here. That glass drops in, and you miss it right here. That drops into that line right. That's that little canard support.
Yep.
There's the wheel flare.
Yeah, it's gotten really wide, which is good.
Yeah, that's cool. So I don't know. And then again, your point well taken there, Shannon. Look how close this touch control is now.
Right. We want it right where it's right there, and not even have to lift your arm.
In fact, you know what I'm wondering? Would it be kind of neat? We do a facelift where we keep all this, but take that unit and pop it out of this sidewall here, so it kind of comes up and rotates
as you get in. Yeah. We talked about that.
Yeah, that could be much better, I think. Oh, you mind if we put? What do you guys think? Streamlabs.
Streamlabs on the top.
Yeah, love it. What do you think about moving this, gang, over to here on the sidewall, and then just packaging it into the side? And when you activate the ignition, it comes up and then rotates to look. And well, you know what? It'll be even closer yet, right?
Yeah, it'll be right on the outside. So really, it's a matter of how you get in. You know, is it does it go in because you're stepping in from the side, or does it maybe go out because you're getting in from the front? Because we also talked about doing a cockpit that opened like this, because all of this would open with it. Yeah.
I think that's the idea of getting the side. I think this side would be great. I don't mind it here, but it'd be a little clumsy, I think. It needs to be a little closer yet.
Yeah, it needs to be like right. If it's a touchscreen of any sort, it needs to be right in a way. Because the other thing is, and this is actually modern day problems. Car manufacturers are trying to put touchscreens in cars, but they don't realize when you reach forward and you go over a bump and you're going like this, and then they make the button that big, but you still miss it. They don't realize in this thing. You got to have something there to stabilize it.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's going to stabilize. That's a great point. Anybody that looks so
speechless.
Movie.
Oh, that's good. Well, wait, Captain Nemo, we want you to say something.
Yeah, you can't be speechless. Wow, Starship looks so roomy. Yeah, it should be roomy. That's the one thing about
hazard through the window.
Thanks a lot, Daisy.
Ballistic, I don't think you can fit through this window. All these things are tiny.
But let's go back to what Nemo said there about being roomy. It's interesting because I think the whole idea is to get everything full forward and out of the way, Nemo, like Shadow said, and everything that's business like back here. In between, this is all peripheral stuff.
Yeah.
So I think the more expanse we have, and we've got a lot of room to work with. Look at, I'll show you why. Here's what I liked about this approach when I opened it up and expanded the view. That looks so much fresher.
Oh yeah, no, I love this. This looks amazing because a lot of this is, this is the what they call semi-active displays, where it's mostly just informational. Now I can reach down here and switch over to something that's less critical, but it's only when I'm on a straightaway or when I'm coming in the pits or leaving the pits. When you have that chance to breathe. So other than that, it's displaying standard information that you always need. You're not going to change. You're only going to glance down at it and look. Being this low in the eye line is brilliant. Yeah. It's 13 degrees is what the eye can focus and understand from looking at. So when you're looking out that way, That's actually very realistic.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any doubt. Look at the comparison, one and the other. Look how that whole thing streamlines itself into play here when you get. Can you read those two? Oh, I'm on the image.
Kinda, we need a bigger camera.
So yeah, there's a good view right there. Look at the difference in how this stacks things up and really brings it like almost like a skyscraper, where this flattens it all up and puts it right down. Right between the sight line.
Yeah, and I think that actually fits better with the way that the exterior works anyway, because it is wider and flatter. It's not just, it probably wouldn't stand up very well.
No, I think there's a huge difference in getting, and also, even though it's roomier, but it looks less cluttered, which, the intent here was to make it look like a jet fighter. That's what it was.
But then we realized that didn't work very well.
That was me dreaming the wrong direction. And we've got this to set up, but here's another thing. Look at this. Here's the elevation. We'll switch gears, come back and forth here. Look at this. There's a detail, and then there's the side view seating position, and the helicopter, that's the floater.
Wow.
That comes off the floor. That's what that, oops, let me get that all lined up here. What do you think here, guys?
I love that.
So far, so good?
Yeah, see, when it's less detailed, it actually comes out better.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, I put some split line in the panels because I thought at one time we could move them, but I think keeping them fixed like that, and I'm getting a little bit less cluttered here. And I still think this has some merit. I mean, I still like that look. We clean it up a little bit more. We bring these things back and make sure.
Yeah, I think we just simplify it.
Yep, get it down to a simple. But again.
But that's good to know that what you could fit in there, like size wise.
Yes, and again, here's again. This is the beginning of that strut system here. That's a connector off the bridge, and then what we're not showing here is that little tie line across. This is glass here.
Right. Yeah, and that's that halo up.
But maybe it's just me, but this seat system is dropped at us. Here you are, head form. Into shoulder, into body form, and you're wearing that thing.
I know.
That comes right off the floor. This area here is that area in section.
I'm gonna wear my G12 GTR today.
Oh yeah, I know, me too. We have to make one.
It's a Monday.
We have to make one. It's a pixel. Unless we go full matrix, Neuralink.
So
what do you think?
Makes sense. Some physical buttons. Yeah. Picks definitely. You can't go full touchscreen in a race car. In fact, it's hard to even just do any durability. But we're trying to think really, really far into the future.
Yeah,
but stability to hit the button is the hardest part. So that's why a physical click
great
helps.
Point. Maybe this stuff down and we modify, get a little closer to the detail here too, Pixel. This area here. Could start to go into like a bank of switches. Or also maybe they're touch controls off of this panel here, or else off the peripheral on the sidewall. If he just kind of reaches in and. Yeah,
because that's another thing with touchscreens that you lose is. A lot of times drivers will feel. Well, actually, it's not even just drivers; it's pilots. It's everything. Yep. They feel across the and they know it's the third switch to the right, and they just hit it without even looking.
That's right.
So that's one thing you totally lose with touchscreens.
Yeah, I think the more tactile we are, the better off. I mean, you look at some of the stuff being done now in industry; it's all very, very smooth, glass-like, and it's very touchy, hard to find here, but. If you miss something, you're done. But in the race car, I think you have to have that some sort of it's a sense of interactivity.
Yeah, and that goes back to kind of what we were talking about with Malcolm was it's not so much a driver wants to you want a driver to want to get into the car.
Yep.
You want him to drive it off the rails and to the limits. If he doesn't feel comfortable, then he's never going to push it to that. So the more information he has sometimes is good for the engineering type driver, but for the guy who just went like Stan.
Right.
Stan doesn't care anything's going on down there. There could be absolutely nothing down there, and he can just look out here and drive all day. So that's kind of where I think we'll find that wash is what has to be there, and then maybe just a touch more of info, and then just go.
That's a good point. Maybe make a list after this session. Make a list of all the vitals that are really necessary for functionality, and then begin to separate that out. Because I think you're right. Stan's point is, hey, turn the ignition on, go 3,000 miles an hour.
Go 3,000 miles an hour.
That's all he cares about. Caleb, what you got? With certain metal materials being close and the rides of the concept tactical light project on the air is not. Yeah, no, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's not. But I think that the key thing is here, we still want this to be a race car. And even though it's got some revolutionary stuff in it, I still think it's part of the fabric. Okay, so let's move along. There's my scratches on maybe some sections of work and how to can. But I thought we'd put together a little time today in this. There's a series of thumbnail sketches here. Let me get these out of the way. Pardon me.
How do you get in and out?
How do you get out of this thing? So that's a great question. And I'll be the first one to vote here. I'm a firm believer that this thing should be almost like an IMSA or a GT car.
Agreed.
So here's some little thumbnail sketches on some. Again, we mentioned last week that this whole area here, there's a survival cell. I've already laid that in. Now we've got, let's put that seat in place. Now we've got the seat doing this. That's contoured right around the driver. That's where he is, right there.
And you notice that's actually a very forward sitting up position versus
upright.
what you would expect.
Yeah, exactly. Which is, again, if you look at the angle of incidence here, if I draw a vertical through here, there's the F16 special, 16 degrees right there. That fail-safe is to prevent any possibility of fainting or falling out or whatever it might be. But anyway, these are little thumbnail sketches based on, all right, we got that location. Here's a little elevation with the wheel in place, and there's a body form coming through it, and then here's that's fixed. This is going to move. We want the glass to move only, which is going to go vertical. But looking at this, we have a little more entry egress, and we're coming over the fender roll and then into the piece. I don't know if it makes sense to go forward. Maybe it's more of this, where we actually sidewall it like that, so it rotates from there to there. That makes sense?
Yeah, the only, okay, so I know in racing, they have to have doors on both sides.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, for a number of reasons, mainly for safety. So
yes,
that might not work.
Which is really neat. We do a little suicide special, a la Bugatti.
Oh, yeah.
Split line.
Split line, that's what I was thinking.
We actually split it, and it moves in both directions.
Yeah, and that's, so like that, oh gosh, I can't remember the name of the race car. It's the Sin something. Oh. It has the cockpit that moves. It took them forever to get that approved.
Yep. That's right.
And the only reason why is because they had blast outs. Essentially, it would just, they would hit a button and it would blast all the locks out, and they basically just push it off.
Yeah.
So you could go something with that as well.
That's true, but I still maybe go back to basic thought. Maybe it is smart to come back and look at this as a possibility, but I still think it's more aircraft. It'd be nice to get an aircraft feature like an F-35.
Oh, I know why.
Yeah.
Counterclockwise racetracks.
Oh, that's right.
Drivers got to get in from the pit wall side.
Yeah, pit wall side, which means I think going back to something like this would be much healthier. So let's do this. I just played around with, not played around with, I looked at and analyzed this.
You're playing around.
Man, that term, okay, so if I look at the cut line here, the black is where we have one possibility, the red is another. But if I look at that, if I pivot that, look what happens here.
Yeah, it's pretty tall.
That's pretty tall, right? So if that goes back into place, and even down through here, if I go to this one, same setup. I kind of abbreviated the cut line itself, went to a rounder than a sharper, but the same problem exists. You go right into that thing right there, which it still gives you real interference right there, I think. Now, if we came back and said, well, what if we dealt with that much area right there?
Oh, just the top and just the real glass. Shoulder roll, yeah.
Just the glass and put a rail in it, so to speak, and cut it right there. All of a sudden, that changes the paradigm quite a bit. Now all this is gone.
Yeah, well, also, you don't even have to come up that high.
No.
Because there's a lot of, if this is only the section there.
Right.
You can get out the side very easily.
Big difference. So let me put that aside for a second. So let's put these are handy. Oops, sorry, there's shadow. Let's put these aside for a second here. I'm all over the place. Pardon me, guys, for reaching. But if we looked at that again, what if we just did, let's see what happens if we did this. We came back in.
Oh, Caleb, thanks for joining, man. Hey. Drop a follow. We're doing this every 3 times a week now, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah. Hey, thanks again, Caleb. Good to see you.
Yeah, great input. Thank you so much for that.
Thanks a lot. All the best to your dad and your family, all right? Let's see. Let's do this.
Drop in the Discord if you're interested.
Yeah. Let's get this guy squared away here. Let's come down, get that wheel in place. Get that little canard in. It's kind of put a little bit of roughy here. A little bit low here.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I missed that, Caleb. I can't see it from over here. Thank you so much, man.
All right.
Yes, we finally got Discord. Jump in there.
Yes,
we're slow, but we're working hard.
No, we're not slow. I'm slow.
Oh, gee.
Shadow's good.
I need 5 clones. That's just to catch up.
All right, so that's that. Let's do this for what it's worth. Let's see. There's glass. All right, let's roll back. There's that high line right through here. So we're saying that line right there we can kind of roll over and move into, right?
Yep.
That's the fender line, which would be back in this case, it would be that guy right here.
Yep.
Right? Okay, cool. All right, so if that goes, let's do this. This is fixed.
Also gives the engineer something to sit on to help the driver strap in.
That's exactly right. You get out like this. There it is.
Oh, man.
All right, so if that's the case, there's my center line of pivot. So if I come back to that, just for, pardon me for reaching in here, Dave. That's going to be interesting. What if I did, let me give myself a little bit of room here. So I come back in through this and move into that. There's glass. I use that as my pivot point. All of a sudden, I think we're in business. Look at the difference.
Yeah, so
makes sense.
Nemo brings a good point of why not slide it back over the canopy. And there's a lot of reasons, Nemo. It's weight is a big one.
Yeah.
Creating a system that has that support structure, like hydraulics and things like that, you try and eliminate as much of that as possible. Like if you look at the doors on a average race car, you'd shock because you could literally pull 2 shanks out, probably disconnect 1 wire harness, even if there is one, and take the door off and walk away with it because it's so lightweight.
That's right.
They keep things as simple as possible. Often, especially in GTR distance racing, every part on the car is easily removable and quickly replaceable.
That's exactly right.
Well, not every part, but damn near.
You're right. That's a great point.
So, like, if we wanted to take this gas canopy off because it got shattered or maybe it's got a crack in it, it would be easy to take it off then.
True. And the other thing, too, Nemo, back here, what we have not drawn yet is the plan view of this thing. As this thing goes forever, there's a lot of induction intake up on top of that surface as well. So if we slide back, we might have a little bit of a difficulty.
But that's a good point. I mean, it would definitely look cool for like a road car.
Yeah.
A road car version of this would be pretty awesome.
Boy, not being metal. You can actually put a split right through here and actually half slides and the other half pivots.
That could work too.
That could work as well.
We could do that as well.
It's still wide open, but again, let's go back to this just for a second here.
We could do like pedals where it opens up in 4s.
Yeah. The old Mercedes-Benz.
That'd be even more complicated.
The old Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So let's finish this thing out.
60s.
That's right. So there's my seating right there. So there I am. That's where I'm seating. There's my structural piece. There's my stuff coming off the glass and so forth. But again, if we have that much area, pardon me again here, excuse me, reaching here, Shadow. Mm-hmm. If we're looking at this as a movable area, I'm going to ink that in. And then we have the rest of the body form coming along here and doing this. Now this is what's neat. Let's just that's so I can fake this thing in here. Look at this. That's where our new intake is.
Yeah, it's right up on them. That's good.
Right up upon them. And that goes into that, so on. Got to bring this through, back, run this through, and then come back to ground line here. The reason I'm doing this, I'm going to turn this into perspective here just a second. I hope. Get the pen to work.
Whose perspective? Yours or mine?
Probably yours would be better. There we are. Let's go this route. Let's get down to ground. Let's get this last piece in place here. So if I'm there, in essence, and there's my drag line there. Okay. Now, what's neat about that is this. We come into this thing with this, to that, to that, to that. Now we've got this nose cap coming around. That's that. This rolls back. That stays static, so that's got a little more crown to it. That's actually going to do this. There's the glass again down below. Pardon me scratching this here again. I'm just kind of thinking our way through this process. There it is in perspective. There's the drop line there. It comes into that. So now this whole area is the portion we're working with. Does that make sense what I'm doing there?
I think so.
And now, let's go back and put this in perspective. There it is. There's the far side wheel.
Oh, okay. Now I get it.
There I am, right?
I thought we were looking right at the side. I was like,
there's the canard up front.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now we're moving into perspective.
Yep.
Now, if that's it, this is now what we're dealing with right here, which now makes more sense. If we pivot that, now we're into this.
Yeah, and again, it doesn't have to come up that far.
No.
Or, we could even do that like we talked about, the reverse.
Yeah.
Because, if you think about getting in, your head's coming back, it might be easier to have it without that there.
That's a cool idea. Let's do this.
It also gives it better stability in the front. You can make a much cleaner line for seal.
Yes,
for a wind seal.
Great point. That's great. And then there's glass that's fixed. There it is there.
You could probably get pretty low with it too.
Oh yeah, you can drop that thing in nicely. Now that becomes my pivot point, which is really cool. Now that comes uphill, does the following. Much better. Look at that.
Yeah. I think it would be easier to get in and out of.
Why pivot? Why? Oh, you got that.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to catch up. So
we could. Yeah, there's a million doors options we can come up with. It's probably a matter of just for the racing sense, keeping it smart and simple. See, another thing, Nemo, is during racing, obviously, even if you keep a clean race, you still get damage.
Oh yeah,
so every little bit of damage could potentially, like a track could get messed up if it's a sliding system. A pneumatic might stick.
No question.
There's a number of things that could go terribly wrong there.
Yeah,
or you could get tire debris. You know, like, have you ever gone to a racetrack?
Oh, man.
You look at the side of the track, it's
all the
little marbles and I mean, that stuff gets in there, and that could gum it up really bad.
Knows?
So try and keep it simple.
I like that idea, because then if you put that in place now, let's do this. Here's the survival cell.
And with that front seam there is now smooth, as opposed to being that you have to, because the guys are out there taping. You're in qualify, they tape every little gap.
No,
they won't have to tape that. It won't look so bad.
No, we don't want that. But that's great, because if you put it again in perspective, that takes a lot less surface to work with, and all of a sudden you've got that coming into play. That's good.
We could probably put a stronger hinge on that front too, because the weight, we actually want a little weight on the nose.
Again, you could put in the sidewall, you could bury jacks, for example, and support that with a little strut on each side.
Yeah, it could be a simple one. Yeah,
it'd be a very simple jack system. But nonetheless, I mean, that's got some real architecture to it. But I think the main thing is that we really want to concentrate on. Now I think we're getting closer to entry egress. And I still believe, I don't know about you, but I think both sides now, it makes it easier to pivot forward and then reload in from the fender side. So we've got both sides activated.
Yep. Yeah, because when an engineer is sitting, like, this is what I keep thinking of too, is when you're racing, you do a driver change. The driver jumps in, and the engineer's immediately next to him, helping him belt up. Yeah. One of the things that he's always struggling to do is reaching down underneath to get. If your canopy comes this way, you could come in over the back, because a lot of the stuff is down on your left side, right side, right along your hips there.
Absolutely.
So it would make it a lot easier to get in.
No, I don't think there's any question. That is really kind of neat, because again, if you look at that too from the other side of the world, come back in, you get that contour down. Minimal seating, all carbon fiber. There's that rest area here.
So we can't be comfortable.
Oh, yeah, you can't be comfortable. A little pillow right here will do it. You come right back. That's all you need.
Just a little one.
Just a little one. But
stay awake.
Stay on top of it. There's the aperture, the opening in the tunnel console. We're looking at coming back in the seat. Again, the reason for that spar is about right here. Just got to put that in place. Now all of a sudden there's center line, which lines up with center line there. Boy, coming forward, this guy. There's my glass line here. Everybody follow me so far or not?
I got you.
Yeah, very good.
Now that you drew the extra wheel.
Yeah. So that comes over the top. There it is there. Driver in place. Masking and so forth. But again, this now is where the tunnel console comes out. Here are the hand controls right at us. Real scratchy, but all that to say, to get to this. That area right there, from that pivot point and that pivot point, all comes forward.
Yep.
So it ends up doing something like this.
You could even have it stand on end, to be honest.
Yeah, you could.
Wouldn't take too much.
No. Pull vertical? Absolutely. So a little bit of a break there. That pivots out of that. Oh, there we are. That comes up, crowns over, in the glass, into home, in the glass, into home. Boy, that does it.
I like it.
Pretty rough.
Simple, clean, easy to maintain.
And then the rest of that stuff
speed.
That comes down. Yeah, it's much greater speed. There's that spar. There's the Nemo nose. Comes back, and then again, put it in perspective over the lot. It's sort of all the sketches there, guys, but overlapping it. But that volume could be really, there I am on the outside. That's... Yeah,
this being a single piece is a lot better than trying to fold it, because, you got wind at 300 some miles an hour coming across it. Yeah, you want to try to lower the amount of those as much as possible.
Yeah, plus we've also got information systems hanging off of that thing that's going to be part of the whole game plan as well. That overhead HUD system comes off of that.
Right. Yeah, this could be easy to replace too. It might just be 2 pins and a lock, or the lock would probably be in the window itself.
Yeah, just for what it's worth here, guys. So are we making sense out there, gang? You think? Great ergonomics today.
I think we're leaving them speechless.
Are we leaving you speechless? I think this has been a good session. I'm just getting down to the nitty-gritty of going back again to the history of this stuff, but making sure that we really have a good handle on where we are with this thing. So let me just try one thing here and let's see what it does here. If we go this route, we're talking about, if we go back into full,
I could probably give you a crayon and you would just Sylvie.
What now?
I said, I always like, because one week it's a pen, next week it's a pencil, next week it's a sharp pencil, next week it's a marker. It doesn't matter. We just roll, right? Does it make lines? That's good enough.
That'll work. There we go. See, that drops in there. I'm just trying to get a characterization of what this thing might look like from the front end here. So I'm not going to finish the detail, but if we come back to this, there's our rear pant system right there. And if it comes across real loosely, see, just to kind of rough in where we are. Not quite where we are yet, but nonetheless, that's that little intake piece. Here's the glass canopy here.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Here's the underbody. So this is, again, that comes right through. There's my survival cell. There's a remnant of all the material from the
G12.
From the G12.
What's left of it?
That's what's left of it right there. That's all we have. There's nothing there. So again, that's pretty rough. But again, we'll get into all that stuff later. Here's we're talking about that big, huge, massive engine system back here. That's more of that kind of character. That's pretty rough, guys. Sorry about that, but nonetheless, what's neat about that is now from behind, what does that start to do now? Now that looks like this. There's canopy drop from the other view. That makes so much sense.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, especially if if you kind of finish that line where you roll in there.
Yep.
Because that's not too tall. I mean,
no,
that's like not. What, about 3 feet maybe?
3 feet. That's about 3 to 6 inches. So if we come back up, there's an actual. I'm going to draw through that. If I look at the section through here, it comes like through here, comes through here, and then it flares out just a bit. From there, there's a cut. And then inside that is where this nacelle, that's where the glass rolls. So in that area, you just roll right in.
Yep.
That's it. Plan
step
view.
Here.
Yep, step here. You got to get the old aircraft. I mean, that would be really cool.
You have to.
That would really be cool. But I think there's something about, I'm going to really now we've got this thing pretty well tuned in and how to enter egress and so forth. Now the task is to get a good front 3/4, close and open, with some interior details. Look at the rear quarter, and I still think we need to resolve some of these areas back here, but I think we've got enough information to really put this thing to bed, guys. What do you think?
Bring back that other one you had with the rear end that we were smoothing it out. We brought the intake forward.
Oh, yeah.
Because we actually sloped this down some.
Yeah, we did.
It did look pretty cool.
Let's see.
That also would help with
that one right there?
Yeah, so by bringing that forward, we can start to bring this down again.
Absolutely.
And smooth that out.
Yeah.
Really get it, lean through the air.
Yeah, that could. Let me see if I can get a piece of paper here, guys.
Because whatever air we don't gobble up, we want it to basically flop, fold off the rear.
No question. So if I did that just for a second, so let me just do this, guys. Sorry to cheat here, but time of the essence. I want to make sure we get something established here. So if we can look at this guy here, there's a real quick study. There it is. There. Right now, we're going to bring this all forward. Pick that up. This is going to come forward. Then you're saying to break it there like that?
Yeah, bring it down. Because see, most of our downforce is coming from the underside, so we don't need a big honking wing on the back.
No, we really don't. So that's going to come in.
It would be just like you were saying with the active arrow. It'd only come up when we need it.
There you go. So
because think about how smooth that shape is, and then bringing up a brake, or like we even talked about having a brake on each side. So if they're trying to brake hard into a corner and flip the inside one up. We could do a lot of that back there, because our downforce back here is going to be mostly static.
Very well said.
It's tumbling air, so it's always good downforce.
Very good downforce. The intake.
Slow moving air is good downforce.
Now, am I translating that all right? Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
This to this, and down to ground again. Now, do we want to still end it here?
Yeah, I like that look, but I don't know if that
or do we
works.
End it there?
Yeah, I don't know if that works aerodynamically. Because it's the creation of drag by just not doing something with air. Because air just likes to go all over the place. It doesn't. Yeah, it likes to be guided, but it has a mind of its own.
Yeah, I think the view might be when you get more of like a front 3/4. This guy, when we start to actually the finished renderings up that body fuselage here coming into this thing with that surface. Maybe it's more of, instead of being out here, we kind of turn it in on itself and it goes more parallel to body side.
Oh yeah, that was like one of the original designs.
Yeah, that kind of distorts it. But keeping this more face up and running into the center line of the canopy, for example, now it comes back and does that.
Yeah.
Now that makes more sense, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That makes sense, Shadow?
Yeah, it smooths that air alpha through the middle that's not being used and gobbles up the stuff that we need.
Yeah, we're actually coming off that surface and doing this. This is now intake, which is a nice segue into maybe back here. Now we rotate, give it the old origin bit. That's rounder back there. I don't know. That's a pretty scratchy sketch.
Well, we can also, like I said, do some sort of, like I said, like an air brake system.
Flat.
Aero to help with both general braking, but also corner braking, high-speed corner braking.
I still like that thrust here.
Oh yeah, I love that.
I don't know if this is really going to be part of the magic.
I think we keep it flat. I think that flat look gives it that Formula One kind of what's the remember the Indy cars when they had the real big rear flap? It was actually bigger and went over the rear tire. It looked neat though, but they got outlawed it because it was kind of basically cheating.
No, I think that's smart.
But we're allowed to cheat. This is our design.
This is our design. So let's bring that into play. I think you're right. Let's get rid of that last chop there. Bring that line through, come into ground, and then really accentuate this guy. And then literally, instead of seeing the intake, that intake's going towards center line of vehicle. And then maybe it drops a little bit, and then it gives you a little bit more of a kick right there.
We could go back. Remember how we said we had fins?
Oh yeah, that's still part of it.
Yeah,
that could still go into this whole center line portion here.
We said through corner braking. Yeah.
There you go. That moves.
Basic, but yeah.
That moves. As does this. That whole thing can actually open up for tire removal and change. Same with this.
How are we doing that?
Yeah, same thing. That line right there. This whole thing.
Yeah, this. Yeah, and then same thing with that. Yeah, so it's like basically it's going to come into the pits and it's going to have wings.
It'll just fold. That'll be really cool. It's a very active machine. But I think you're right. We get rid of that. I'll modify the elevation, but I think this goes and we just bring this back a little further. And I think this implies, if we move this forward, that implies that shape is going right back over the center line of the vehicle as opposed to facing us like that.
Right.
I don't know, guys. What do you think?
Hey, Z, what's up, man? Very Tron-esque.
Hey, Zandola, how you doing? Zandolza, good to see you. These refinements have been great.
No Fisher Price here.
No pink and green.
No, yeah, right.
But that's where we are, gang. Anything else you want to add here, Shadow? I mean, this has been from my point of view, gang, I apologize for no sketch rendering today. I thought it would be really good to get Shadow's mind on this thing after last week's go around and really begin to refine some things. Yeah, I worked on some interior stuff, which I think is much, much healthier. Let's pull those back up a little bit. I still think
we got the gills back.
Yeah, the gills are back. I think the big improvement was that you take that front car down and clean it.
I love that front end.
Yeah, and get into Nemo's wider nose.
So quick.
So much better. And then that combination, there it is. That's where we can get this on the screen. That's one. And then the interior, just enough to kind of give it a compliment. Once we modify some of this stuff. I don't know, what do you think?
Look at this down here.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh, that looks so awesome. I love that.
Yeah, just a nice clean look, and then getting more of the controls where they need to be. Looking at this as an analysis, but I still think that's got some real zip to it.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Anything you want to add here, Shadow? You think we're not looking at
every time I go to try and change it, it just keeps getting better.
I think it's, maybe I'm wrong here, but I think the assessment I'm getting out of this session is this: that we've got a good resolve on the inside.
I think so. Yeah.
Very good direction on the exterior by moving this stuff around and getting rid of that rear flap. Now
everything else looks very the way we.
I think we're home.
We finally drew what we were talking about.
Yeah.
You finally drew.
You know what's interesting? But in all fairness to you and the audience or the gang out there. The thing that's nice about, the wide nose makes room. Yeah, it does. Absolutely. It's really cool.
Yeah, it lines up really nicely.
Very nicely, yep. But in all fairness to Shadow here, this goes back to my days at staff. There would be years spent on this stuff. And you wonder why. People always ask me in interview processes sometimes, how come you guys do some great stuff in the studio? And look what you have on the road. I'm going, yeah, well, don't blame me. Blame the management. But that's what happens. There's so much conversation. There's so much ego involved in the whole process. For example, to give you an idea, and the current C8 Corvette, this is a true story. Back in the day when we started doing clay model studies for a midship Corvette, there were two managers I worked with. One was Rebicki, and one was Jordan. In 1 minute, Irv would come in. He was a VP of design. Chuck was his assistant. Irv would come in and say, move the line up and move it out. Chuck would come in and say, no, move the line in and move it down. All day long for 3 years. never was a resolve until all of a sudden one decision was made by Jordan. That was, I mean, that's how it went. That's why you saw, and again, I bring that up not because of my whole history, but this is really great stuff because it takes this kind of conversation between a guy who knows his stuff and an audience that's listening to get the job done.
Yeah.
We've done. I think now we can go back and do.
I wish you could show them how far we've come.
Oh man!
From what we started in just the time that we have.
what I can do here, and I think I've got all the histrionics lined up. I'm going to put together a portfolio for your benefit.
Yeah, I want to show that off
so we can see where we started, how it all began. So it's all there, man.
No, so about the tornado line and Audi. Yeah, I bet.
Oh yeah,
tornado line and Audis.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Nemo. You've been there, so we're all in the same boat.
Yep.
But I think great conversation today. I think we've got some good resolve. My task now is to go back in and work with Shadow here. We'll modify some of this, get into tuning this guy, and put together a nice composition for an exterior and interior. And looking at entry, I think the stuff we talked about too. Maybe I'm wrong here. I'm not concerned so much about entry egress. We won't have an answer for it, but I don't want to get a lot of.
I think we're good.
Yeah, I do too. I think that canopy,
especially now,
forward,
yeah,
looks pretty good. We do a nice shot, like a rendering like this, with the canopy up, a little bit of an interior shot.
Yeah,
that could be kind of cool.
Well, yeah, with the driver sitting in it, that would look really good.
Absolutely.
Or in this case, the pilot.
The pilot. The pilot. That's right. Let's come up with a neat name of this thing too. What is it? It's a now. Is it no longer a G12?
No, we're well off the boards.
Yeah, we have to come up with a rule.
We're gonna have to name this thing too.
If we do our own branding now, Shadow, we definitely have to come up with a neat name, right? This will be ours, right?
You can stick with either contrast dynamics like we did with the Harvestar, or we can create something new. We'll take some suggestions in Discord, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. And far away. And Contrast Dynamics would be the holding company, but what about the vehicle side of it? Ooh.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, Contrast Dynamics could be the holding company. Yeah.
And then we can come up with an automotive component, like a racing component, like what? Something not motorsports. That's pretty common. But something like with the same heritage and history like Ferrari.
Wow,
that'd be nice, wouldn't that be?
Hard to touch.
Yeah, well,
don't tell them that.
We could call it the
they have to start somewhere.
The mighty Maranellos.
The mighty Maranellos. We're not going to call them anything named after Columbus, that's for sure.
How about Mucho Modon?
Oh, okay.
I like that. That's kind of neat. Anyway, that's a good question. We've got to bring that up, Shadow. Maybe it's good feedback on you. If we were to put together a holding company for this vehicle, what would you call it?
Yeah.
That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, because we're going to have more.
Absolutely. Well, I think the good news is now we've got some good resolve. I mentioned Shadow before we went on the air here. I've got a good friend who does a lot of digital work, and we're going to ask him to come on board and give us some insight on putting together a 10-scale model of this thing. Just a really neat, raw, even though this isn't right yet, just a really screaming speed for him, 10 scale.
Yeah.
That could really be fun. That'd be see what it looks like.
Put light onto different angles and see how it looks.
That's a good thing, too. I've done in the past. Maybe next Wednesday I'll put on a little demonstration on paper sculpture.
Ooh.
Where you actually take some of the basic shapes and just form like half-inch loops and staple it and then put a light source on it and watch what the shadows do.
Wow, really?
That's some really cool stuff.
I've never seen it.
So we can try that, too.
I mean, I've seen it, but I've never seen it actually done. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I don't want to get caught up on... well, this is from a personal point of view, and please forgive the context here. I don't want to get caught up just being a wrist. There's more that we do that you don't see.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that I really want to get across in this Dreamlab thing. And I think the thing about getting into Twitch, maybe that'll help build a bigger audience too. I don't know. But I'm not unhappy at all. I'm really delighted.
Well, because the feedback is what makes it great. So,
yes, it is.
Yeah, we love that.
It's great. But plus for me, having this guy on board today and last week was a big stimulus because I'm in there by myself all the time. And I just told before, I feel like Jack Nicholson in The Shining. Here's Johnny.
Come out with your pencil.
I'm just at the typewriter, kind of clicking away.
Right, yeah.
But this is great, guys. Anybody, any closing commentary here for you guys, for Shadow and I?
Yeah, we'll definitely chat in Discord, but
yep.
Well, so yeah, next steps will be I'll come back next Wednesday again, and we'll hammer out some final kind of work.
Yeah, and I think what I'm going to do here, based on our conversation between you and I and the feedback, is start to tune in the exterior, get that modified, change the elevation, and get in some real substantial good interior cockpit.
Yeah, and I'll help try and come up with some controls that were actually required.
Nice. Yeah, and I think we'll keep this spirit. I mean, there's something about that spirit that's nice.
I love that. Yeah.
And then get this into this into play too. Does that go sideboard? Where do we place that thing?
Yeah, maybe, that might even be too low.
Oh, I think it is. I definitely think if I'm sitting up here looking downhill, maybe, I don't know.
Well, it really comes down to how much information we're going to have to display.
That's right. Maybe most of the activity is up here.
That's what I was just thinking.
There. Maybe we don't need that.
We have a halo display.
Yeah, we don't need this, maybe, you think?
That could very well be, yeah.
I think
just another thing that'll break.
You know what else? Yeah, that's right. You know what else is interesting, too? What I'm concerned about, now we talked about entry egress, that thing might be in the way. But if we put it all up front, that to me is a ticket. Anybody else?
I'm mixing Origin and Drake. Z, you could see yourself out. No, Z, I actually, this is what's been really fun is we've gone off the books and kind of did our own thing,
Right.
So we were talking to quite a few engineers, racers, and it came down to when we said, well, let's think 900 years in the future, and a lot of them scoffed because we could barely think 100 years in the future.
That's right.
So what we kind of did was we released the shackles of this being a G12 rework, and basically just said, what's the furthest down the road we can think?
Yep.
What this might be 100 years down the road.
That's right.
So that's kind of where we're at. We're not really following any style but no, I mean, Z as a concept, like something fun to do. It would be kind of fun to try and smash the beautiful Origin something with a Drake, industrial,
look.
very raw look of a Drake. Yeah, I mean
that could be kind of like a Blade Runner version.
Yeah,
do a Blade Runner.
Well, or do something like I was even thinking like a cycle, because if you look at their Dragonfly, it doesn't actually. It's not like what I would call typically Drake, because it's got too many body panels.
Yeah, get down to minimalism.
Yeah. Well, and maybe smooth out some of those parts and then build a body kit for a Dragonfly. That would be kind of neat. That would be cool. An Origin body kit for a Dragonfly.
Your own.
Now that would be something to be fun with. Yeah. So Z, stuff like that. That's great ideas. I mean, drop that in Discord.
Very cool.
Yeah, I love it, because we could. Yeah, that'd be really neat. You do body kits or mods, for existing ships. That'd be neat.
Yeah, get the platform set and do variations on theme. That could really be interesting.
I know there's quite a few things I changed on the M50 already.
Well, maybe that's part of the motivation for going into this thing. Develop our own line of products. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, we've been talking about that. I love that idea.
Super.
So, great.
Well, again, gang, we really appreciate you taking the time today. And last but not least, I just want to bring up hopefully this fact. If you're interested in any drawing skills at all, or really going to put together some thinking process, please visit my website at drcontrast.com. Look forward to working with you. And again, can't thank you enough for being part of the process today. Great input. And again, I do apologize for strictly being a conversational bit, but we had a lot of ground to cover and some things to discuss with Shadow. Now we've got some good things to work with, and also input from you all. Terrific. So when are you talking about bike?
Yeah.
Why not changing the...
Nima, we were just talking about, trying something after this, what we might tackle after this. And I kind of, like Z had said, a mix between an Origin and a Drake style. And I just brought up the point of taking the Dragonfly, but then putting like an Origin body kit on it.
Yeah.
Something that really changes it up to make it look, I don't know, elegant, but industrial.
Terrific. I mean, that's a good thought, Nemo.
So that was, really cool. It would be a completely different machine altogether. But I mean, that might be fun, because it's a good tie into the Star Citizen universe, and with our own brand, we can easily do that.
Yeah, I think that to me is the inception of a product line that could be really interesting, Nemo. So thanks for the input. That's cool.
Yeah.
Remember the Chrysler 16-cylinder, the Brute Hemi piece?
The monster.
Yeah. Well, you can lighten that thing up and do something on that variation. Minimal skins. That would really be awesome.
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
Like you wear. That's great. Let's see what this is. Well, again, gang, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And again, visit my website, have fun with it. And I want to say this too, and hopefully not to be self-serving.
And the Discord.
And the Discord. And really appreciate if you'd pass the word along that we're active here on Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays. I really would like to build this audience and really make it matter. And I really appreciate your time here. Pass on the word. If I've said something right, tell me. If I've said something wrong, tell me. I just want to improve as I go here. This is an all-new game plan for me, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. enjoying more exciting the fact that working with you guys and getting input on the design process has been invaluable. And my sincere thanks to my wingman here, Shadow. He knows his stuff. It's great fun to work with him. He knows his stuff, and he can really offer some interesting posture on this thing, and that's very helpful. And all that to say, all the very best, and always remember to never forget to dare to be great because you are. Thanks, gang. All the best. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.